Today's game idea is a classic. Let's talk about Capture the Flag. Capture the Flag is a classic field game used for youth groups and school groups and camps and everything else. When you've got a group of kids and you've got a field and you need a game, Capture the Flag is a go-to. As you and I both know, there are many variations of Capture the Flag. So many that it can be difficult to say, hey, let's play Capture the Flag and assume that everyone will have the same rules. It can also get difficult if you play by the same rules every single time. You're going to eventually get bored. So today, I'd like to go over a couple of variations and ways to create your own variations so that you can keep your game of Capture the Flag exciting and fresh for your group. First, let's begin with the basics of a classic game of Capture the Flag. In a classic game of Capture the Flag, you're going to have two teams divided in half by a centering line that separates the two teams' sides of the field. Each team contains a single flag. The goal of the game is to capture the other team's flag, bringing it over the line to their own side before the other team takes their flag to their side. If a player is on the opposing team's side and is tagged by an opponent, then that player is out or heads to a jail. And that's pretty much it for classic Capture the Flag. Here's the places that we get variation. One variation we can do is on the number of flags that we have. So I like to personally use 3 flags for each team. 3 red, 3 blue. Sometimes I use pool noodles, they're pretty great. And I tend to do something like you need all of the flags, so all 6 flags to win the game. Another variation is a game that some call sticks, which is basically Capture the Flag, but you might run 10, 12, or 15 flags. Run them a little closer to the center line so it's easier to get there and back, but there's so many items and you need all 30 to win the game. I've seen versions of this where instead of just using the same flags like pool noodles over and over, I've seen mattresses, variety of different balls, I've seen hockey nets, and all sorts of different objects be used as the flags, and the goal is to get all 30 flags. Another variation or variable in the game is to add safe zones around your flags. I've played games where there's no safe zone around the flag and you need to grab the flag and run with it, sort of in one sweeping motion. I've had other games where there's a safe zone of 15 feet around the flag, and other games where there's a nice safe zone of 5 feet. I find that a 5-foot radius safe zone is usually pretty reasonable. It gives enough space for players to make a run for it, and the defenders have to actually stand back a few steps, while still giving the defenders plenty of opportunity to defend and protect their flag. Now, another variant that I really like is that not only do you have to have all the flags in your flag zone by the end of the game, but I like to play where the flag, as soon as it leaves the flag zone, is live no matter what side of the field it's on. I picked this one up at a summer camp when I was like 15. Super cool little addition to the rule. Basically works like this. If you're holding a flag, you can be tagged by the other team. It doesn't matter if you're on your side or not. If you're holding a flag, you can be tagged. Once tagged, you have to go to jail. So in this variant, I don't usually allow throwing of flags, but it does have this really cool dynamic where you tag somebody, they drop the flag, you go to pick it up, you're in your own territory, you want to take it back to your flag zone, but even in your own territory, if you pick that flag up, you could be tagged by someone from the other team running into your territory and tagging you. You would then be forced to drop the flag, they could pick it up and run it back. It adds a really neat dynamic that way. Now, yes, the invading opponent who comes to tag you is in enemy territory and could be tagged by your teammates. But it just adds this really great flavor, and trying to get all 6 flags into your flag zone while you're constantly potentially going to be tagged, even after you've crossed the center line, you're not safe, you can't slow up. It adds some really neat dynamics to the game. Okay, so obviously you can make all kinds of variants around the flags, but there's another area of the game that you can make variants around, and that's around the jail. So there's so many different ways to run a jail system. When you get tagged, does the person getting tagged have to be honest and just go to prison? Or do they have to be escorted there? If they're not escorted, can they run away? Are the jails unique to each side? So if I take someone on my side who's an invading enemy, and I take them to jail, is it a jail on just my side, or is there a communal jail in the neutral zone? We can also talk about what are the ways people get out of jail. Do we do the chain system? So if you have a jail on each side, and the first player stands where the jail is, we like to use like a pylon or a cone, and they stand there, one part of them must be touching that cone. The next person who comes pushes them away from the cone, and they create a link. As long as the link is connected to that cone, they can keep expanding. If the line ever reaches the center, then it's a jailbreak and everybody gets to go free. Otherwise, as players from their team run across to free them, they tag the person, and the front of the line, the closest to the center, always gets to go back. Or do you do the circular jail, where it's maybe a hula hoop or something, and as people get tagged, they're put inside the jail on your side, and they're sort of freed by whoever tags them gets to take them back. So you might have somebody sitting in jail for a long time. Or of course, there's the other option of having a communal jail in the center of the field, right around the neutral zone or in the center line, where you have a jail keeper, a volunteer leader perhaps, who tends the jail and allows people to go free, but at certain intervals, or maybe after doing certain tasks like singing "I'm a Little Teapot" as loud as they can with actions, or naming 66 books of the Bible, or by quoting the 10 Commandments from memory. All sorts of ways to get the kids to try to break out of jail. Okay, so you've got your obvious places, variants on flag capture and number of flags and rules with the flag, and you've got the other obvious one, which is the jail. With those two areas to create variables out of, you've probably got a pretty good number of options. Now there is one more area we can create a variable with, and this one gets really complicated. It's basically making a variable on where your territory is. Where's the safe territory and where's your opponent's territory? We formed this when I was in high school. We called it Orchestrated Chaos, and we formed our own version of Capture the Flag. This is how we did it. We had 4 territories. Each territory had only one flag. So there was a blue flag, a yellow flag, a red flag, and a green flag. And the idea was that in your area, your corner, your quadrant, you were safe. And if you were in an enemy quadrant, you were not safe. But we added in this cool little mechanic, and this really messed things up, but it was super fun. If you captured another team's flag and brought it back to your flag zone, then that team's territory became your territory, and their team members joined your team in the efforts to win the game. Where it got really confusing was things like, let's say Blue's team took Red team's flag, then Red and Blue were now a team sharing their territory, and Red could go where Blue was and Blue could go where Red was. Now if Green team runs in and takes Red team's flag, Red team suddenly becomes the enemy of Blue. Blue loses the standing in their territory there and could be tagged for any Blue players who might have been stuck there in the moment of that steal. Eventually one team is able to win as they get bigger and bigger. Anyways, there you go. A couple variants on Capture the Flag. You got your classic, you got the variants on different flag styles, you got variants on jails, and if you really want to push the boundaries of the game of Capture the Flag, you could test out Orchestrated Chaos. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining with me with game ideas. I'd love to hear some feedback about how these games are going for you if you're trying them out. Also, if there's a game that you've heard about or that you have maybe tried out before, post it in the comments. Let me know. I would love to make a video explaining how the game works or how I feel like it goes and whether it's a good game for our programs. So let me know what you think about these game ideas. Give me some feedback and let's really grow this program together.